Welcome to UX Banter Season 7, where design leaders, innovators, and changemakers share their stories, insights, and passion for human centered experiences. This season, we are exploring AI driven design, inclusive UX, enterprise strategy, and the evolving role of designers in a rapidly changing world. I'm your host, Dushyant. This podcast is presented by Galaxy UX Studio and powered by Galaxy Weblinks, an Inc. 5000 company.
Welcome to the new episode of the UX Banter Podcast Season 7. This is a very special crossover episode where two great podcasts come together. And today I have AJ Bubb from the podcast Facing Disruptions with me. And this is going to be a cross-posted episode, which depends that who takes the role of the host and who takes the role of the guest. So big shout out to AJ Bubb.
Thank you very much, Dushyant. This is okay. It's a little overwhelming. We're season 2 of Facing Disruption. So thank you all for tuning in. And I'm really excited about this crossover. One of our previous episodes where we just did an off the cuff, authentic conversation as an episode between myself and Mo Hafez from Beyond the Bite. It was just great. And Dushyant, you and I have known each other actually for a couple years now. We've been speaking and talking and looking for ways to work together. And this is just really pleasant culmination of that for us being on each other's podcasts at the same time. So this is going to be great. And I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I'm really excited because all has happened so far is that I have been asking people the questions about their journeys. And when we were talking, AJ said that, have you been on a podcast? And I said, yes, but we've been talking in different manners. It's never been about bantering. So let's disrupt the banter and just switch the roles and then take a little bit of technical, little bit of personal, all come together in today's conversation.
Yeah, it's since you're the one who's always asking the questions, how about I just start with asking your journey a little bit?
A funny one. So I went to the college in 1999 and I could not finish it. I dropped off in my second year. But by that time, I learned to do self-coding by those discs that used to come with magazines because that was pre-internet in India. And well, internet was there, but very costly. You would spend a good amount of like 120 rupees up to for 1 hour of browsing at 32 kbps connection. And in those ridiculous times, we would get these CDs of the older versions or older magazine issues quite cheaply. So one disc could last for a week, and that was the internet. So we would install every software. We'll watch all the trailers, wallpapers, game demos. And I found a PDF file that was about how to do HTML. And built my first website, and it was made live on geocities.com back in the day.
Yes.
So I got kicked out of the college in a way where I opened the website in my university lab. I was asked that you know too much and you are banned from the lab for the next month or so. So I decided, what the hell, not going back. Later on, I did a diploma in UX design. Well, it was designing for everything, as in from graphic to video editing to 3D animation. That was a thing. So I did that in 2002 and started working. But then I realized that it was all a little bit superficial and I had to get the proper formal education in design. So in 2010, I moved to UK and did my graduation from the University of the West of England. My alma mater, UV Bristol, with first class, first honors, with the Chancellor's Award. So they were like, you need, I think, 360 credits to graduate. And I graduated with like 500. So, as one of my friends would say, call me the freaking overachiever.
Yeah, you just raised the bar a little bit. But that's great. I mean, look, I could just see by your face how excited you are about that experience. And this is something, because I have a little bit of a similar route where, just going against the grain, right? But then when you land on something you love, 500 credits seems easy, right?
Yep, that's the
It's
topic.
like you dive all the way in and you have a passion about the subject. You're like, yeah, I'm here to learn. This is a completely different approach than what I think a lot of people take, where it's, oh, I have to be here.
After that, I returned to India and working few years in corporate, but that actually changed the entire positioning. Now,
Hmm.
the way I was talking, the design and the subject matter issues that we were handling at that time were top shelf. I was part of the team that helped launch world's largest mobile phone network, Geo. And
Hmm.
then when I said that I want to start my own UX design practice, um, people started doubting, saying, if you are going to do that, do you know design happens on site? You are in India. How is that going to work out? We are a country that develops outsourced codes and we do not
Hmm.
do the designs. And I said, let's give me a shot. Let me start the podcast. Let me open up the conversation and see that how it is quite the same. We are the same people solving for the same problems, finding seat at the table, and the struggle is real.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what led us to this beautiful place where we are having this convo.
Yeah, that's great. And I definitely want to hear more about your approach because, yeah, when I think about UX, I do think a lot in person just because it helps being at the edge. So how do you overcome not being at the edge, close to the customer, close to where the user is?
UX is not the creative field that people think it is. It is trusting the evidence. It is being the lawyer. If you trust in the process, you trust the numbers, you need to look at the data. If you want to go against your instincts, you need to come to UX because you are definitely not the user. And apparently that is the title of the first chapter of my book, UX Decoded. Yay!
Ooh, link in the comments.
Link in the comments, that was released a few years back. So that's what my approach goes to anything that I'm designing. Even if the client
Mhm.
says we know our customers, we know our clients, but I try to push them as much as I can to get at least a little bit of data
Mhm.
that will, use as a the milestone or the foundation on which we are
Yeah.
going to build this great building in coming days.
I think that you pointed out a distinction real quickly that is worth surfacing again. Uh, UX and design being different, right? UX is not designers. And then you mentioned research, trusting the process, data driven. So, in your mind, UX designers, how do you define each of them and what's the difference?
User experience, it means everything. It means from the content hierarchy, information design, information architecture. It means the small little animations that you are seeing, the motion graphics, the delightful parts of it, and the journey that user takes for achieving personal goals, to achieve the business goals. And in the end, you are reaching at the end point where you come out of the process satisfied. But this also includes the graphics, the animation, the illustrations, the visual elements, the UI in the middle. So it's an umbrella term, often misunderstood.
Hmm.
We call it UI UX for the heck of it.
Yeah.
But UI is just a subset of UX. So when I say I run a UX studio or I'm a UX designer, that means that it is not just one thing that is happening right now. It is more than one item or territory that we are dealing with. And as a
Mhm.
UX designer, it's a generalist position. Then you find T-shaped designers who have specialization in one particular domain or the other. But these things often get overshadowed by what the business demands.
Mhm.
And more often than not, there are confusions. Even people who have been in the industry 15 years would just go on and not sure about which way to go and what they are doing. But
Mhm.
I believe the one key element which people do not understand is that UX have to be involved from the
Mm-hmm.
get-go, from the business analysis stages. We need to understand the ecosystem. We need to understand the interactions which are happening. You can't just give one screen and say, can you please beautify it? Our developers have
Mm-hmm.
already done the work. And that is, you are not going to get the output. It is just a shitty website or application that you are going to serve to the customers,
Yeah.
which is not going to solve any purpose. Pardon my French.
Yeah. No, we love the authenticity because it's true, right? You can't just better graphic your way out of a shitty website and a bad customer experience, right? It you have to really understand who your customer is at that point in time and what their needs are and what they're trying to accomplish, and give them an experience that is meaningful and delightful for them. To pull some words from Amazon. Uh, yeah, it's not just about beautifying it. And I feel that tension a lot when I've worked with businesses and organizations or leaders who look at a UX UI specialist and say, "Hey, make me a pretty slide deck." It's like they're not your graphic designer. This is not, or they won't pull them in until late in a project because they say, "Oh, we're not worried about design yet."
Then
It
people are just worried about their jobs. They'll do whatever is being asked, thankful that they have a position
Yeah.
and then they get the face time at least to say something about it. But yes, we are often judging a fish by its capability to climb a tree, and that's the
Hmm.
ridiculous notion that people don't understand the roles that they have hired for. They don't understand how to utilize the proper resource in which direction to go for. And hence, I'd say at that point that yes, you need a consultation. You need somebody who is a UX consultant, an architect, who will define that what role individuals play. And so, funny anecdote: when I was building my team, people often talk about that. Okay, this person does this thing right, but the another thing he's just completely crap, and he just doesn't know how to work on it. And then my logic is that I hired them to do the other thing, because for the first thing I've hired another person, and you are the person who can do this particular thing right. So you do not
Hmm.
criticize the other guy. You work on what you know, and I'll use the
Hmm.
other guy when their specialty comes to play. And hence getting the final output, which comes from a mixed skill set team, applying very variety of skill set together. Now you get a product that has been looked through by a graphic designer, an illustrator, a motion graphic designer, an animator, somebody who did UX research in detail. They have written UX articles about somebody who designed the pillars of voice, that how we are going to talk to the customer, and then somebody who just specializes in creating wireframes and prototypes. And then we have a completely different person doing the brand design. And
Hmm.
now, when you just assemble everything together at the at the UI design stages and later to the development, now you get to see what the vision was about, rather than so just looking at one point and saying that, oh, I asked him to create
Yeah.
the branding. Now the entire application is like this, because you did not go to the right person to do the right thing.
Hmm. Yeah. I always called it complementary but non-overlapping skills. I mean, you kind of want a little bit of overlap at the edges of people's skill sets so that they can communicate with each other, but you want people who can own a lane and say, "Yes, I can do the branding, I can do the coding, I can do this, but I know enough that I can communicate with the other person." And then you get this almost like orchestra playing together, with different strings and different sections that know how to riff off of each other.
You know what, AJ, what happens with these sort of scenario is that people also get that feel that they are blocked up with one particular skill that they have, and they
Hmm.
often feel a bit stuck in their careers. And they will come to me and say, I want to do something else, I want to try something
Hmm.
else. We never say no to not try something new, but at the same time we want to ensure that this is the position that you've hired for. Now if
Hmm.
you skill up to something else, that is, the onus remains on you. We are not stopping you to try that,
Hmm.
because with that sort of a multi-skilled team, you will have time. It's not like that one person doing everything, so that means you are busy all the time. Uh,
Hmm.
so one thing that I keep with my team very clear is that we are keeping the occupancy at about 75%. 70 to 75% is where the numbers are. And I often get slack from the stakeholders that why not 100? I said, if it goes to 80, we are in trouble. These are
Hmm.
creative people. They
Hmm.
can't, do maths if it is not calculating something that you can do just quickly. There has to be a breather. There has to be some time to think, contemplate. And I can't just say that the guy was taking the 1 hour meditation to figure out one solution in the timesheet, but you need to give them that sort of a levy that yes, it will take time. You breathe and you do your best, and there is whole
Hmm.
support system available if you fall down.
Yeah, I remember there was a situation while I was at Amazon. We were at one of the organization town halls, and the VP hadn't asked me anything. And somebody came on the line and asked how they were expected to meet all of their yearly metrics, including the chargeability utilization rate and all of these other things uh, within the standard work week. And the VP shares the screen, opens up a spreadsheet, and starts saying, like, look, this is what your required utilization rate is, and it's this many hours a week, which leaves you this many hours a week to do this and this and this, and you have this many hours a week, and you should be able to fit this into 80 hours, and if you can't, then this is your fault. And it's like there was no room to breathe. There was no consideration for task switching. It was just like hyper optimized that this is what you should be able to do in the time that we've allotted you. And if you can't, that's your fault. And I think it's easy to say that wasn't good for morale. And everybody suffered for it. So it's refreshing hearing you say about the importance of needing time to breathe because you're right. Especially now, you need time to switch modes.
We had to discuss about those assumptions or the themes of having rock star product teams.
Hmm.
And people look at the final product and would assume that what sort of culture would they be having? Will they be slacking off to create this sort of quality? What sort of problem they must be facing? Hi. So I was talking to Brian Duvilla. He was one of the guests in this season's earlier episode. So he started off somewhere in Latin America, and then he moved to US in San Francisco. He started with Apple, and
Hmm.
after working there a few years, he moved to an independent studio, and now he works for Google, and he's working for the language preservation lab system that Google has produced. So he is working in a domain that is quite amazing. So I had to ask that what it feels like to work at Apple, and then why would you leave? And his take was that the truth is, the first day that you are there, you can't believe that the PNG file that you have found, now you have the Figma for it to edit the Apple
Hmm.
logo itself. And pressure of presenting a design is always going to be immense because you have idolized these big teams and big organization all your life, and somewhat
Hmm.
they have inspired you to be there, and now you feel like such a big imposter that how you are going to handle that pressure. It normalizes after a few days, but the process is that feedback, review, feedback, review, feedback, review, multiple chairs, multiple steps that you are walking on. And but that means that they are only getting a smallest of the things out, but the amount of reviews it takes. He worked
Hmm.
on, I think, the earbuds boxes and the design that was associated with in the entire product line of things. But then your work is going to be scrutinized by every single YouTuber who is going to do an unboxing video. Your
Hmm.
work will be watched by one of best in the tech industry on that launch day recording of the live stream. Now that sort of visibility creates a pressure for itself, and then even if that smallest of the work is, then a campus like they have in Cupertino is essential because you need time to just not feel that overwhelming sensation that you are getting out of just being in the constant center of attention. One pixel mistake is going to stay or live forever on Reddit, that aha, look, somebody at Apple did this, and
Hmm.
they can't afford it, and hence the pressure builds on you. And the entire concept of delivering perfect design, being the rock star teams and the culture, and how do you build them, always comes down to how you manage your teams to handle the stress. How many times are you coming for their rescue? Have you hired for the right problem rather than what solution somebody can provide? There are multiple scenarios in which you get the right set of people and right set of skills. What is your take on this?
Which specifically? I have lots of takes on it. Which take specifically should I come out?
Strategies for building exceptional products and
Yeah.
high performing teams
Yeah.
in today's day and time. We'll come to the AI part of it, but let's just talk about
That
this.
the AI, you know what? AI is a tool in your toolkit, right? It's a powerful tool, but it's not a what, it's a how. So, I do love the question because one of the pillars that we focus on is rockstar product teams, right? And this is a lot of the work that I've done over the years has been building products at speed, at scale, and getting out there. And I like what you said about the diversity of the team because it's really having people with broad skill sets. I always found to be almost more beneficial than having some very deep siloed experts. And I'll expand on that a little bit and I'll put a big caveat at it depends on what you're working on, right? A lot of the work that I do has been from the idea to validation, minimum lovable product, and then getting out to market. And that is a very different need than optimization. Optimization comes later, right? When you're building out to prove out the concept, you don't need to be worried about what happens at your 10,000, 100,000 users. You should have some thoughts about it. You should, have some of that consideration. But at that stage, you're just proving out the point, right? So you need teams that understand the fundamentals, understand the principles, but they can also think in the way I like what you said, you're hiring to solve the problem, not for the solution, right? You need people who can think about the problem because they're going to find the edge cases that we need to start folding in to make a customer experience that works. So, let's think about this from an actual example. One of the things that we were doing, I had a team working in Las Vegas, and our engagement was all about we were creating a mobile app for one of the resort chains there. So you can get your key on your phone, walk up to your door, put it up to the door. And, now we take it for granted that mobile key is a thing. But this was the first one in Las Vegas. And if you've been there recently, you've definitely used our app, or at least what later became from our app. And, this was both greenfield and brownfield. All of the last mile integration was new, but then you had to integrate with I'm trying to remember if it was Oracle or SAP, but you had to integrate with their enterprise, and it was a disaster, right? But I picked my team not not so much on their ability to code, but their ability to figure out what's wrong and find a way around it, right? So every single step of the way was some other nonsense that we were blocked by. And these are the type of people who we literally called the door lock vendor and had them ship us sales samples to try it out in our lab. They would get up in the morning, and for lunch we were based in San Francisco, so they get up and say, look, I can't get this working, I'm flying to Vegas right now to get on them. And they would just go and take a flight. An hour and a half later they're in Vegas to meet with the client to find out what's wrong. Like that type of forward proactive ownership, right? That's what I need. That's what makes the Rockstar product team is people who aren't just taking the tasks and say, yep, this is my task and oh, it's blocked. I'll do something else. It's okay. I understand what needs to be done and I'm going to own this thing until it's complete. And
Say the
because of
term
that,
again. Forward ownership.
forward thinking, proactive ownership.
Forward proactive ownership, and I think that
Yeah.
has to be the mantra, because anybody who is going to go anywhere in today's day and time. I was just having a mentorship session. My mentee asked, like, how do I improve? I'm 2.5 years in UX and I want to grow. And so I said, do this, that even I get overwhelmed about the information that I'm getting. What you need to do is that, say, 3 weeks, I'm having no social life. Every single
Mm-hmm.
minute that I have will be spent on learning and trying tools and watching videos about what can be done. Tell people, don't call you, and just sit
Mm-hmm.
down and do it, because you are going to go mad one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Either you learn and grow, or you can just suffer and then grow. So the best is that make sure that you own the time frame in which you are supposed to do something. And
Yeah.
this is where everybody who will be applying for a food license to open an ice cream parlor uh, will get to, because a lot of people who have 20 years of experience and they are still ICs, they have they are having the nightmare of a career right now, because of this very particular reason, that there is a very collaborative team based environment where people are depending and counting on one another, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody is willing to experiment. If you're not, then you're done, you're gone, and that is the end of it. What do you think the future of these teams look like? How those team of the future for, well, just combine everything together.
Okay,
Right.
so I have my aspirational view with that, and then my I'm gonna call it realistic view, but it's more I'm a little jaded from my experience, right? So let me dig in. The aspirational view. Teams can do more with less. And I realize that that term is has a negative connotation at it because you know you you read it in the news, companies are squeezing their teams for more with less resources.
Mhm.
I want to go on the other side of that, that you as an individual have been empowered with tools to accomplish so much more, so much faster, to get such a wider breadth and depth of experience and knowledge in a way we've never had before. So there's a good side of it, as you can be a superhuman in a lot of ways that we couldn't before because of AI. So the great thing is teams can work faster. They can get more data. They can make decisions faster. They can prototype faster, build faster, 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 faster. This is great. Here's my jaded side of this. I don't think organizations are ready to move faster, right?
Mhm.
What you mentioned with Apple and all of the reviews and all of the, hey, you have to go and present it and get feedback and it's going to change and change and change and change. I don't think that's going away. So the question becomes, what was the primary thing that have been holding teams back already? Was it that they couldn't code fast enough? Or was it that they couldn't get approvals fast enough? And I think it's usually a little bit of both, but I think it's more on the organization can't keep up. So now what happens when you have a rock star team that can move at 150 miles an hour or 200 kilometers an hour for those crazy metric using people? What happens when you have a team that can move really fast, an organization that already struggled to keep up with it and now really can't? Like, what's going to happen to the motivation of that team? That it's like, oh, I could get my sprint done in 3 days instead of 2 weeks, and now we're stuck. What are we doing? What do you see? Like, does that reflect what you're seeing or what you're thinking? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So the future of rockstar product teams with the experimenters mindset.
Hmm.
That's the summary of it. So the founder of my organization, Mr. Anand Damani, he started the company back in the year 2000. So about 26 years ago. And the funny thing is, he is not a coder. He is not a programmer. He is not a tech person either. He comes from a manufacturing industry. He owns, well, the group owns a number of factories about the pigments and colors and reasons. And it's a quite different business, and they have multiple factories across the country. But when it comes to software, I didn't couldn't understand that why he decided to come into this way. And then he said, I am still not, I don't understand things about the software. He is our he has taken a very many steps back. He only meets us like once or twice a year, and
Mm-hmm.
that with birthday parties. And he said that I knew only one thing, is how to search, how to find information. And there was nothing already. 90% of the time what we are actually writing or creating is not something which is rocket science. It is already there. You just need
Mm-hmm.
to ask the right question.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are asking the right question, doesn't that hold true for AI? You need to be just good at communication. Ask the right things, get the right answers. You decide what answer is suitable for you. You need to make a decision even after that. So even if that thing started a company back in 2000, 26 years ago, if that holds true, held true then, it holds true now, then we know the future is not going to eliminate humans. It is just the people who have the right amount of assertiveness and belief
Mm-hmm.
that they will sit down, they will do the experiment, they will figure it out. And that self confidence is what is going to lead to having teams which have that proactive ownership for a solution that they are going for, and creating that mindset even from, say, somebody studying at university. They need to figure it out from their that level, that nobody is coming to rescue. You are on your own. And
Mm-hmm.
when you say that people get stuck, yes, vibe coding will lead you to places where there may not be a way out. But actually knowing the solution, as in you can't just always use calculator. If one day battery is dead, you should be able to do your, how much is 8 times 12, that you should be able to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny that you said that. 2 nights ago, once again, I was burning the midnight oil and I was trying to wrap up a proposal, and I was using Claude, and Claude was down yesterday a bit, and then 2 days ago. So this is like 11:30. I'm tired. I'm just like, I need this final copy written. I saw Claude was down, and I'm like, oh, all right. I guess I'm going to bed because I'm not going to think about this myself. And I just closed the laptop. I'm like, you know, bless you, Anthropic. You told me it was time to go to bed.
So they should always shut down the AI at like, as
Oh,
like a tab, then not getting it
yeah.
anymore. It's already 10 p.m. Go to bed.
Yeah, that's it. I use Lovable a lot as well, and a couple months ago, I was using Lovable and then Claude, and this is before I had the Claude Max plan, and I would just run out of credits and say like, "Oh, you can't. Your usage is done for the next
For
four
the day,
hours." I'm
for
like,
tomorrow.
"Okay, I'm going to sleep."
But that's a great idea. I mean, they will be saving a lot of computing power and people's minds together. They can say, okay, in the working hours, in the time zones, when the sun is out, AI is on. If the sun is gone, you are off to bed or be with your
Yeah,
family. At least just get off the internet already.
yeah. It's like once in a while you'll hear companies that turn off their email over the weekends, turn off AI, turn off social media. Like that that would be so wonderful
On
to
Earth
just
Day.
yeah. Yeah, just do it in a day. And I think this goes back to something that you were saying about taking charge of your career and then setting aside 3 weeks where you're going to just focus on learning every minute of the day. I like that more than this idea of spend 1 hour a day
Every
learning.
day.
Yeah, because like the chance of you being able to commit an hour a day every day is so low. Your kids get sick, a work fire happens, uh, you get sick. Like you miss a day. Once you miss one day, you miss another day, and you miss another day, and then you beat yourself up. That says, "Oh, you know what? I can't do it." But just saying, this weekend, I'm going to do all of it this weekend. Nobody bothered me. It's like very time bound.
Horses for courses. I'm not saying do gym 3 weeks straight up to get those six packs. It's not going to happen. But at the same time, I'm reading this book called Science of Scaling, and the author
Hmm.
talks about that he was just putting off a lot of things about his final thesis of our PhD. And then his wife said that, it has been 2 years, and sorry, 3 years, you have kids now and all that. You go to another city, you live there for a couple of months. Don't worry if it takes 3 months, 4 months. I'm here with the kids.
Hmm.
You need to get this monkey off your back, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's never going to happen. And because the things are changing, you keep saying that I will start my AI journey tomorrow, or my career plan tomorrow, or I'll just think about what is going to happen in the future at a later date. You will already be a dinosaur. The way things are moving, I think 3 months and 6 months is long time in
Hmm.
today's day and age.
Yeah. It's a lifetime. I mean, I'm working with AI every single day, and I feel that I'm behind still. Time moves so fast, and I get it. I mean, I put stuff off as well. I think we all do. And the science of procrastination is really interesting because if you start thinking about, well, why do you put it off? Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's sometimes it's something to hold on to. Like, it's nice to have a dream, and if you have this dream that doesn't really have a what happens after you achieve that, then you just want to hold on to the dream. I mean, there's so many reasons.
A dream without a plan is just wishful thinking. That's Let's call it that. It's something
Yeah.
that I wish that would have happened, but you are not going to win lottery without buying the ticket. That's
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's really true. Or like at least acknowledge that that is a dream that you just want as a dream, so it doesn't stop you from other things. Like you could keep it in the back of your mind as this nice place you come back to, but you know, don't build your life around it. It's a you know Everybody is a different way, but it's interesting. So getting back into AI and like what it's doing for people, one of the things you and I talked about is like AI being the creative catalyst to do the things that need to get done, right? So especially in UX, where are you seeing AI take more of a role, and what are the benefits that you know the industry is experiencing in UX? I know that there's a lot of worry about AI taking over design and pushing people out, but let's talk about the positives of it. Like, what are the positive impacts you're seeing?
biggest impact is we are getting the time to collect the data, gather the data, process it, collect the evidence. It has cut down drastically. It is easier to sell now, the process. And by the time we are reaching to the UI design that people want, that time has cut down. And because of that, I can be more confident about the design that we are taking to the market
Mm-hmm.
as biggest of the positives that I can comment on. It is saving a lot of time. Something that I would have commented about, say, 700 hours previously. It's safe to say I can say about 300 hours in current
Mm-hmm.
capacity. Now, this is a big number differentiator. So 700 hours to 300 hours, it's almost 40-60 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And with that number, it also means that I need to get more projects. But at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that many employees. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the disruption which is holding true. And we started looking into that how it is going to take up jobs at that stages. But that is the negative part of it. One of the things that I really appreciate that is coming out with AI's focus is the pillars of voice. the content we are using, the do's and don'ts of it, the contextual copy that is being placed, the contextual help that we are coming up with. That gets the entire UX to another dimension. Now we are more
Hmm.
confident about the delivery. It's not just styling, it's not just some design that just pops up right off the bat, but it has given the depth. We now get more time to think about the strategy part of UX than we ever had before.
Hmm. Hmm.
Economically, yes, I can say that now it is cheaper for the clients, but now I don't need as many employees. But that's bound to happen. I think there will be certain roles that are going to come up in the future, as always, whenever new tech takes the front seat.
Hmm.
What do you think? Do you think that that has done any good for the work that you do, and with the product that you are working on right now, the podcast application? I hope that you have finally christened it.
Yeah, it's I have never had this much fun as a builder, as a creative in the past 15 years, right? Okay, maybe not 15 years. The last time I had this much fun is when I was getting into Node-RED, which was a low code, similar to N8N, but it was focused more on IoT devices.
Mhm.
So basically, bridging your cloud with edge devices like a Raspberry Pi or something. And that was wonderful because now I could focus on the use case and the problem, right? For me, I love the problems more than I love the building. Like, I love to solve the problem. And AI has enabled me to build at speed that is incredible. Now, I will caveat, like, I was an engineer for a long time. I've been in consulting a long time. I've been in strategy, product. So I have a culmination of all of these different skill sets. The challenge is now that as a leader and as an entrepreneur, as growing expert, you need to know how to delegate, right? Delegation is so important. And what I see is, myself included, and other people, we're getting to a point where we as an individual can do so much that is faster sometimes to do this piece of work than it is to delegate it to somebody else and talk them through what your vision is, what needs to happen. You could just do that to Claude, take that and put it into Cursor or something. I'm talking specifically digital products, maybe wireframing some user experiences, things like that. Uh, but having the expertise is now supercharged. And what worries me, and you said it too, you could focus more on the strategy. Being able to think of the strategy comes from having experience. So, what happens to the people who are out of school, still junior, who don't have the experience? What happens to them, right? Companies are going to have to invest in progression and know that, hey, my expert can do this, but I need to pay somebody junior to learn so I have a future of experts. I I'm concerned about that because progression plans are not something that a lot of companies really value and focus on.
But in that faster market, that faster progression, it is not going to be easy. You can write the prompt, you can get to the solution because you understand the problem statement.
Yeah.
And not everybody in your team, or any team actually, that two people can't just read each other's minds. It is
Yeah.
not hive mentality that we have gone on to yet. And my AI is responding to the way I communicate. Your AI is responding to the way you are communicating.
Yeah.
And we are both getting different answers with different complexities and different depths. But so if I talk to my team, I get answers which may be a little bit simpler than the answers that I am getting out of my AI. How do we go about that? Is the expectation right to set? Is everybody can be brought onto the same level of innovation and innovative thinking? Is this the end of the teams where people can just delegate tasks to a junior? Or do I need to ensure that one intern just sits next to me and watches me to that how do I do everything? and just after the observation skills, they are going to just replicate that how this person is functioning in their lives. It's really going to be difficult because the institutional level, the approach, the thought process has shifted. Right from people are saying that students are using AI for homeworks, to the point where let's put tools that can catch people who are submitting papers generated through AI, to a point that where they are saying that okay, you can say you used AI for the structure, but you need to show
Hmm.
you actually did the research. The first thought was yours. It wasn't all
Hmm.
generated. You use is to just have a random blabber and say, can you please structure it? And that's when AI can just act as a calculator to give you the response.
Hmm.
We are actually awarding PhDs by that. So what has changed in the last 3 4 years? How the next 3 years are going to look like? That is going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. What you mentioned, having the intern sit right next to you, we tried that 10 years ago. Remember, pair programming was a thing? I have
Yeah.
not heard pair programming in years.
Oh wow, wow! That's an ancient horse. Actually, I remember that time the two people would code together, and it wasn't just intern and junior. I have seen people with similar experience, like 3 year experience coders, would be sitting together, and they said that it was even more productive than it used to be. I, I still don't get the concept. I've seen people do that in the office live.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big push for a while and then it fizzled out because nobody wanted to pay for that, right? I mean,
Edge
that's
computing, edge AI. This age AI was like 2 years ago. Now it all moved down to the SLMs. How are you going to just keep the balance? How blockchain? Where is it? With the way it was going, the entire creative economy about those NFTs. So you see a tech bubble when it comes, but you do know the tech that actually has come to disrupt, and that is where AI is. Now let's accept that AI is here to stay. Now define your careers, define your lives around
yeah.
it. We need to be really adaptive unless a big solar storm comes in and everything is knocked out electrically. We need to rethink before going back to steam ages.
Yeah, and thinking as this is the right thing, because the reality is your ability to think through the problem, your ability to think through the solution or what has to happen, that was always the thing that you were being paid to do. Like I started getting into one of my hot takes now is if you're an engineer and you think that you're being paid to code, I would say you don't know what your job is and you're a bad engineer, right? You're not being paid to sling code. You're being paid to understand the challenge and produce a result. How you get there is a different story, right? I mean, even people who are doing heavily optimized assembly level code, they're not being paid to write assembly code. They're being paid to understand how a memory stack works and like where the over like really they're thinking at such a creative level to say like why did this happen? So I think going back to schools, the structure is the structure, it's a thing, right? But the content is what matters, the messaging is what matters. You need to think about the thing, like you said. It's like, yeah, you can use AI to form the structure. Engineers can use AI to write the boilerplate code that, hey, you just need to get database access and have all of that scaffolded. But you need to be able to think through what happens when this case comes along and that case comes along. As a user experience person, you need to be able to think about the pain point the user is feeling is that they can't do this. So when they see the screen, what is it that they think needs to happen? Like you have to ask the questions.
So a QA tests an
Yeah.
application, and they walk into the bar and bartender, and they ask, "Can I have one beer, point 0.5 beer, half a beer, an asterisk beer, an ABCD beer?" And it works fine. And then the real user walks in, and they go to the bartender and ask, "Where is the bathroom?" And the application breaks. And this is pretty much that how you are actually strategizing and standardizing things. Now, there's one key phenomena that happened back in 2007 and 8. I remember it was along with those peer programming. India, because outsourcing, we started getting algorithms written by business analysts directly from the clients. It
Mm-hmm.
was some company that I can't name, and I've known the process it was going on. I was never a coder officially, but I knew that what other people were doing. It was my skill set, but I never employed it to earn any money. So what was happening is this: they were getting algorithms directly written with the logic and the variables.
Mm-hmm.
And the person sitting here, it could be translated to any programming language they wanted. So they were not
Mm-hmm.
using their brains, they were just translating from one language to another. From
Mm-hmm.
whatever they received, they just type it and how it would work with syntax in Java and return. So if you think about it, that position at that time, it came, lot of pushback actually came from the people, the development community, saying that we are just technical typists now. We are not
Mm-hmm.
programmers anymore. We are not engineers. The position was simply defined as technical typist. Now, move 20 years after the fact, 22 years after the fact, and you would realize that what we are doing with AI is the same. We are giving an algorithm, we are getting the code with the right syntax, whatever language we want it to be done. Now, it took just 20 years for that transition to happen. But now it is not going to take that long to just identify where the things are being replaced, because if any bug came after that algorithm was translated, it was not the coder's responsibility. They would say, we don't
Mm-hmm.
know what was written here, the one
Yeah.
algorithm said this and I've just translated it. Now give it to the person who wrote the algorithm and they'll figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. And brilliantly and disastrously, that is how it ended, because the
Yeah.
person said, I don't understand the code because I just typed it. And if you find a fault in what was given to me and what I typed, you fire me. And nobody could blame them. So the
Mm-hmm.
responsibility or finding the error lied with the person who wrote the algorithm, who had
Yeah.
no idea that how that programming language actually worked.
Mm-hmm. And that concerns me with the whole vibe coding thing. You see a lot of pushback. Engineers don't like it. Business people, non-technical people love it, and that it goes back to that experience gap again, right? And it really comes down to your ability to define and describe the problem that you're solving and the edge cases and thinking all the way around. And I think, you asked, uh, what do I see as the future and what needs to happen? I think the reality is people need to move closer to the problem, right? The typist who was just coding the algorithm, that's going away. You need to get closer to the algorithm and you need to pool the experience of being a coder, right? To replace the business analyst who could only write in business language the algorithm. Well, now you can do both, right? So you need to take that job and move closer to the problem that you're trying to solve.
You know who loves these vibe coding tools the most? The salespeople.
Yeah,
Because
I believe
now,
it.
now they can lowball a number without consulting the tech team, and they would come back and say, listen, I've already created this application, you just need to do
Yep.
the tweaks. I said, why don't you do it yourself?
Yep. I
Sorry,
I
sorry, no
would
offense to my team, they are very good people, they are not doing my work, they are not taking over my job. We are all set. And so there is another joke that I would add here. A designer sometime back posted, to be able to take our jobs, the clients have by AI, the clients have to define the requirement correctly in the first place.
Yep. Yep. That goes back to the whole thing. It's like the problem that you were solving in the first place was that people don't know what they want and people can't articulate what they want. And your job is to come in there. Oh my God. Do you remember the movie Office Space?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the guy says, my job is to sit with the customer and take the requirements from them to the engineers. Oh, do you physically take it? No. Well, my secretary does that. but but it's true. Like if stakeholders, here's my hot take. This is now nobody's ever going to hire me again. If stakeholders could communicate effectively what they wanted, things would be a lot easier. But that's where the gap is like you still need to be able to articulate between the need and AI. Like that's where prompt engineering comes in. It's not just, oh, build me this thing. It's like, what are all the details behind it?
But isn't that the reason why we have revision cycles in design? Because the first time they don't have any idea what the solution is going to look like. Based on the assumption, something is created, it is presented and discussed, and then we have the iterations, the one cycle and the other and the third
Mm-hmm.
and the fourth. And it is not a failure, it is evolution of where we are headed towards the final solution in any trail that we are offering to deliver. But uh, many a times, the funniest examples that I've seen, we work with entrepreneurs, and then the question is, how are you going to make money out of this? So they said
Mm-hmm.
tons of people will use it. Fine. Do you have a subscription plan? Is it a per usage plan? Is it a freemium model that certain features are free, certain are paid? And they say we have no idea that how it is going to work. They have no idea if there will be a credit system, there is a referral system, how the money will going to roll, and they just think about that I just get investment. So the money is coming
Mm-hmm.
from the VCs.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, VC, you are going to earn money by people putting in money, but they don't know how they are going to get their money out of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that education part right there is the biggest one that is missing from the entrepreneurs or the somebody who just wants to have a startup. That where is the business sense in this? Now you say you have the POC that is two screens that is
Mm-hmm.
using ChatGPT API to calculate a data which is freely available, and you are showing some insights. Fine, that is AI that you are implementing or doing. But the boring part still exists. You still need a profile section. You still need a change password. You still need a screen where I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to have to ask you that here are your invoices and payment history. That is the product boundary wall in under
Mm-hmm.
which everything has to reside in. And if you don't want to invest in that, you don't have an MVP. You have a POC. And if you want to sell POC, it is not going to sell at all because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know where the money is going to come in from. And many a times this happens when you are actually working with any of the application. You just mentioned Cursor. I have good experience with Replit as well. But the problem is they get stuck at the authentication stages that I want to apply Authenticator by Microsoft or Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck.
And you know what's amazing? So just to hound on authentication specifically, authentication is hard, right?
I
So
have a list. There are 33 ways to sign up
mm-hmm.
and about 37 ways to log in. And I have
Mm-hmm.
a list of them. And so that is one thing that people don't talk about. And because having that list, I know that here is a list. You ask me, you come to me and say, I have a product. I'll say, okay, here's the catalog. Please make a choice. And then I'll ask my developer to tell you how much it is going to cost you.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling that how many options are there, how many journeys are there. OTP, the two-step authenticator, the magic sign-up link, it is going to your phone as an SMS or on WhatsApp, or if it is going to be sent over the email, or it is half and half, that half the code goes to your phone, half the code is going to your mail. It's just crazy business. And
Yeah.
while people keep coming with new ideas about how the login should work, again, it's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, this is why Okta, I'm looking right now, Okta is making 2.6 billion in 2025. For those that don't know, Okta is probably the largest authentication provider,
Uh-huh.
right? That handles all sign in, SSO, things like that. I mean, look, multi-billion dollars in revenue per year just to handle
Two
sign
screens,
in.
just one screen, actually. And
Yeah.
then you don't know that if it is going to cost you money, then you say, yeah, just username and password. Okay, how do I
Hmm.
register? What are the fields that I'm going
Yeah.
to enter? Is there any way to recovery? We had one application that said, I'm buying something, I'm making a payment, but without any authentication of the contact info, without knowing the email or phone number, or without authenticating it. We
Hmm.
are just accepting the payment and the order. What if somebody comes back to verify? They
Hmm.
don't have an order number because it was never sent to their authorized email address or phone number. They cannot log in because they never logged in. There is nothing. and it's fraud actually. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's legally a fraud, and then when you sit down to explain, they say we don't have budget for it. Said good luck. We are not participating in doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. So it's interesting when you're mentioning prototyping, especially the you know startups coming up with a new product or an organization coming up with a new product. I was talking with another UX strategist based in DC a month or two ago, and she was talking about how the level of expectations on what they deliver as a first iteration has skyrocketed. What she used to be able to come in with Figma designs of here's the skeleton, the wireframes, here's a clickable prototype. She's finding her clients saying, why doesn't it work? Like, can I actually sign up? Can I actually try this? And this is it's because of AI, because they're seeing these products get shipped so fast. They're like, why are we stuck at the wireframe stage when you could just build it? Are you seeing that as well, where the minimum expectation is just going up so high?
It has actually, but there's a good reason for it. If I create something in Figma, I can just simply copy the Figma file, and Figma make itself can generate me a very good clickable prototype. But it is still a prototype. But when you say about the development side of it, you go to Replit, you log in, you have a plugin for Figma. If I have my Figma layout designed in a way that it is communicatable, it is clean, it has clear marking about the pages, and the prototype is created, then if I connect it with the Replit plugin, I get the entire application working in Replit
Interesting.
in about half an hour or
Hmm.
so, and then you can actually publish it right there. Or you can also take it and move it to Cursor because it gives you the Git access. So you still have the working functional code that adheres to the Figma design that I created. So the entire translation happens very quick. But now you are in a pickle because any change after this
Hmm.
is going to murder you.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Any
believe
design
it.
change at this stage is not going to look cheap.
Hmm. I So you mentioned the platform. I'm building this platform, Convia Studio, and it is a platform designed for people like you and I, thought leaders who are producing long form content that we want to tell stories across digital channels, right? So taking this podcast and moving it, and this came out of my need for just something that worked that wasn't Airtable and Notion. And it kind of coincided with the first time I used Lovable, which is November 8th, 2025. I remember the date because that's when I stopped sleeping. I had more hair back then. And yeah, it just started as this prototype that I added. And it's gotten to the point I still consider it a prototype, but it's very well featured prototype. But yeah, as I'm making little changes, especially in the UX, my God, hey, I need this reorganized will cascade into, well, I need to remember because I'm the one who's working on it, what happens. I follow the chain of impact where it's like, yeah, okay, so we're offloading this. Okay, now half of the other things. Time zones, my God, time zones are still the biggest issue. And I have one of my employees is in South Africa, and we are literally working together where say, make a change here and see what happens to the schedule. And we have to find all of these edge cases that are like, oh, if you change it in this screen, it uses her local time instead of the work zone time zone. It's like finding it, but
This is
it's
why I would
crazy.
say that you start with AI, get to a point where it goes to GitHub, and now you can use either any of your .NET editing tools, or sorry, you can use your Visual Studio or maybe Cursor, but then you
Hmm.
have to, after a point, you need to get it off the rocket and let it go
Yeah.
by those little sparky things. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were saying. Sorry, AJ.
I don't think those jobs are going away. They're absolutely not going away. Uh, right? It's going to go to the. I know I've said this a couple times. It's going to go to the people who both have the experience and can use the AI tools. And I think that this is where, going back to your example about what do colleges do, right? Because they're weeding out who used AI on this essay. Well, before they were not letting you use Wikipedia. I feel like they're measuring the wrong thing, right? And we're going to have to think of, how do you teach critical thinking and bring in a level of learning from experience into college, and not just, here's a thing that you need to code, here's an essay you need to write. No, we have to learn how to measure the amount of creative energy that you've put into this. There's going to be a lag, a big lag. This is stuff that you used to learn at your apprenticeship or at your internship. And now those internships are going to be harder to come by. So the schools are going to need to make up the gap.
We are not retiring, are we?
No, oh no, we're not retiring. In fact, there was an article that was talking about how okay, so a couple articles. One, a few years ago, it was talking about how partners at financial institutions and boutique professional consulting companies are re-entering the workforce because they made it and they're sitting on top of their multiple millions a year salary, and they have a bunch of juniors working for them, but now they have to go back in because they can't find the talent with experience, and the people who were talented are leaving, so they're working again. And now we're reading about how experts who are in the field who moved from IC to leaders are going back to IC because they're losing budgets. AI can enable them to do the work. And now they're the ones with experience, so they have to do the work. And they're burning out because of it. I mean, people in general are burning out because of AI because it's so fast.
I know for a fact somebody in US, again another guest at the podcast, who said that he has two jobs, and it is open secret. There's nothing that he's hiding from both of his employers, but he is putting in productivity equally to justify, and he's holding on to two jobs just because this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's getting paid for his own processor. It's not just the AI; his own intelligence
Yeah,
is allowing him to handle two different demanding product companies. And as an IC, even that, so he's not just replacing team at one company, he's just replacing teams at various
crazy.
places. And if you think about it, that even individually, somebody like you, somebody like I, if we decide that someday we want to go back to the core workforce, hmm, a nice thought to entertain. But I'd rather find my successors.
Yeah. The only way that we're going to maintain is to be hiring and training the next generation. It's going to have to be an intentional decision leaders are making to invest in the future. And some companies have done that forever. We're going to need
I
more of
think,
it.
yeah. So I've been thinking about on the same lines that yes, there can be some level of masterclass or a workshop that can be arranged between the two countries that we are representing right now on this podcast, and that way it adds the value and holds some sort of knowledge sharing about the processes and how to proceed from that point. On that point, I would invite our listeners that if they want to get in touch, if they think the idea is somewhat palpable, you can get in touch with AJ and me or I, and then we can think about something that can actually come in handy for your business, your work, your team, or individuals if you want to learn something or two. What do you say, AJ?
I love it. I've started doing hackathon seminars for organizations so people learn. I think hands-on is exceptionally valuable. So, if we can do something where we can take cross-border skills too, that's even better. So I agree with you. Reach out, let's put something together because we're facing disruption together. The only way we're going to do it is by leaning on one another. So
And
let's support each other.
absolutely. That thought, I think we are also doing a lot of mentorship, different platforms that we are on. ADP List is where we shine, but it is getting really hard to find the time. But then on the other hand, the questions are very repetitive. So I think it's best to have one session with a bunch of people and just answer all the question at once, that how to make it, how to survive.
Even better, a live series. I have not gotten into Twitch streaming yet, but it's on my list. Doing these types of open hours, 2 hours, get people on. I think that's the next step.
Sounds like a plan. I've got a room for it. This is my studio with a green screen. And yes, it is not computer background. You can see my shadow and breaking the fourth wall.
50-50 chance that your video has a green screen on it or some other background. This is real. I love it.
All right. Oh man, this has been one hell of an evening for me and this conversation. I really want to talk more, but I believe that if you want to put it in one single episode, we have to say we can do it next season, of course.
Next time. Yeah, let's do this again. Please, if you've made it this far, like, subscribe, drop in the comments if this is helpful for you. If you want more of this, your feedback helps to direct our next episodes and what we do. I really appreciate your time, Dushyant.
And I do too. So with that, I say if you are a creator, do check out the platform AJ is working on, which is called
Convia Studio.
That means that all your podcast gets real delivery, the long form content and everything that you have. You now have a platform to build on. I'm moving all my UX Panther podcast episodes from next season onwards to Convia, and that is what I like to do. So if you want a discount, I think the code is in the description. But that's it, guys. And yes, do like, share, and subscribe. AJ, this was a blast. And let's connect soon.
Let's do it. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Talk soon.